welcome back. Once again, adventurers, to Let's Play ChäoS. In the last episode, reality itself was unraveling for Takumi Nishijo, on the verge of defeat, having been undone by both Genichi Narose as well as the infernal device known as Noah 2. Yet the voice of Shogun and the wishes of the other gigalomaniacs, Ayase, Senna, Kozue, Nanami, Yua, and Rimi, were all there to try and help put him back together. And as a result, we went through 14 doors in a certain manner, because that was the way that we needed to go. But there is one final set of doors that we need to go through. We can only go through one. Either one will lead us to a particular ending of how this will unfold. I am Takumi Nishijo. We can answer with yes or we can answer with no. Either answer isn't necessarily right or wrong given the circumstances, but we have definitely endured much to get to this point, and we've certainly come a long way. However, at this point in time, there is only one way that we can go on this particular venture. We must answer with no. Our choice has been made. That is the path. That is the path that we have chosen. There is no turning back.
意識が僕を固定した。ぐちゃぐちゃにかき回されていた世界が一気に収束する。混沌は僕の理想度を形作って収束する。僕は僕としての形に戻る。世界は世界としての形に戻る。僕は僕だ。
Indeed. My sight turned clear. My body had healed. My upper and lower halves were connected. I stood on my own feet. It's time for a comeback. The pain had utterly disappeared. My heart was calm and still. So indeed, everything that we have experienced up until now has been a delusion, and possibly even the D-sword wielded by Genichi Narose himself, which would actually probably indicate that he wasn't a true gigalomaniac at all, but simply relying upon Noah 2's powers to aid him. And with that, the final threads of Shogun's strength have been passed on. I recognized Rimi's swarm at the corner of my eye. She was unhurt. She was looking at me. She was crying. Don't cry. I tensed my hand with which held my D-sword hilt. I tested the sensation of it. My arms moved properly. I'd completely come back to life. And even Genichi is in awe. Because, while Noah 2 is certainly a formidable device, it is nothing more than a pale imitation of the gigalomaniac known as Taku. Whereas you are merely a monster. I fixed my eyes on Narose.
確かに僕は化け物だよ。
rescue
でもこれ
Remy
が
in order to destroy Noah too.
僕が望んだ妄想だ。
Indeed, it's all coming together. Norose's reaction was swift. He had yet to take Takumi Nishijo's code sample. Narose had meant to drive him into a corner via delusionary psychological attacks, but instead he himself had been made to trip up. Not entirely unlike the manner in which Mamoru Suwa was tripped up by his own delusions. He couldn't afford to forgive that. Well, good sir, I hate to say it, but you made the exact same mistake that Suwa did, and like Suwa, you are about to pay the price. Narose closed the gap between himself and Takumi. He slashed upward with his D-sword, moving it diagonally. Oh, so his D-sword is real, and not a delusion. Well, it is a delusion, but a different delusion than those being bombasted at us by Noah too. He sliced Takumi across the chest with his D-sword, which severed all manner of things. But as formidable as gigalomaniac Genichi Narose is, and even with the might of Noah 2 behind him, he has no chance against the unique IR2 gigalomaniac. The target's hardness made no difference. Cutting down a mere human being was as simple as cutting through jelly. But while there might be blood, at Narose's swift blow, Takumi's body divided. His head and his right arm, his right shoulder slid apart with a slithering noise. All his intestines spilled down to the floor, but no blood emerged. Takumi's lower body was on the verge of collapse. He started bracing his legs. He'd braced his legs. The next instant, waves beat across the severed surface of the wound. It squirmed. A bubbling noise. And he regenerated. Unhurt, unaffected. A power even beyond all of the gigalomaniacs. Not even Senna and Kozue could do this. And yet, while it might exact a certain price, that is a price that Taku is willing to pay to beat Genichi Narose once and for all. Because after all, what have we got to lose except, well, everything which we have already lost? His body, which had been cut down merely a second ago, had already brought into being a new neck, a new right hand and shoulder. His old head and intestines remained where they'd slipped and fallen.
痛覚は遮断した。
Takumi took a step closer to Narose. Narose clicked his tongue. He turned his D-sword around.
肉体の形を捨てたがゆ
In a sense, Takumi has achieved Apotheosis.
えにいかなる形をも取るということですか。
あんたの見せてくれた妄想のおかげだよ。
Being unable to maintain a shape as a human being, Takumi had co-opted that delusion and made it his own. This wasn't regeneration, it was replenishment. As for his lost body parts, out of the dust infinitely multiplying from within him, Takumi once again produced flesh and bones. He replenished himself. His form wasn't set. Like an amoeba, like slime, it could freely change itself. That was the reason Takumi had called himself a monster. A monster that you yourself created, Genichi Narose. A monster that you helped to make possible. Takumi's feet took another step towards Narose. Narose's irritation increased. Clenching the grip of his D-sword, he lunged at the approaching Takumi, catching Takumi's head in what resembled a giant pair of scissors. I think you should be less irritated and more terrified.
脳を失えば妄想はできないでしょ
Well, you already severed him in half, and that didn't work. Takumi's head mashed inward. A cracked watermelon. Blood and brain fluid exploded. He lost everything above the neck. Even then, Takumi's body continued forward. Regeneration, replenishment happened in a second. When his heel, which had been stepping forward, touched the floor, it was as though nothing had happened. As though he'd been wholly replaced. His head was there without a single scratch on it. And Rose awoke to the fact that he couldn't defeat him. Physical attacks with his D-sword would have no effect. Takumi had co-opted the delusionary attacks that denied his very reason for existence. Which basically means, Genichi, you are out of options. The current Takumi Nishijo was all too abnormal as a human, all too warped as an existence, all too appropriate as a monster that has burned itself into the furthest reaches of your dead spots, Genichi Narose. Even so, Narose couldn't bring himself to withdraw. He thought it would be best to utilize Noah too, pummeling Takumi with an infinite number of antiparticles. That is a mistake. Another mistake. Every kind of existence would transform to negative matter when confronted by antiparticles, thereby arriving at self-collapse. Yet, what is Takumi's existence but negative matter? If it were impossible to destroy him with outside attacks, then one simply had to make him crumble from within. Well, he's already been through that, and he has returned renewed.
そうなんだね。
Takumi had read Narose's thoughts. The light shining from Takumi's D-sword changed from red to black. Black flames enveloped his sword, growling, lengthening. Oh, you're in for it now. The image they evoked was precisely that of a black serpent. Behold the true might of Takumi Nishijo's D-sword in all its terrifying glory.
そして現れるの
Wandering the dome interior as if it felt cramped, as though licking the roof and the floor, as though scraping them away. It ate and ate.
写真の黒き大樹あらゆる崩壊を飲み込む邪神を身を砕くことのできる糖質にして異質なるもの
Looks like Takumi has found a way to put Ayase's delusions to good use. The serpent's body had formed from antiparticles. It forced everything it touched to undergo self-collapse. Such an avaricious stream of destruction.
触手芸はあんまり好みじゃないけど。
Standing there, Takumi held his D-sword. His point was fixed in Narose's direction. The black serpent, which had been coiled up, lashed its body out like a whip. Its jaws snapped at Narose.
まさかこれほどとは
Narose had never before witnessed such a phenomenon coming from a D-sword. He couldn't determine whether this was a hidden power belonging to gigalomaniacs or part of Takumi's delusion. Black fangs invaded Narose's body. He began to collapse. so sluggishly, like a frog gradually dissolving inside a snake's belly. He was being swallowed by darkness. He felt no pain. Normally this would have led to his death in an instant. But that wasn't what Takumi wished for. Realizing this, Narose twisted his lips self-disparagingly. Narose had no dread of death. It would be fair to say that the ideals he aimed for had been achieved together with the completion of Noah 2.
私を殺してもノア2には誰も近づけない。
You may be right about that, and yet there is actually one little loophole that you ignore.
永久期間なんですよ、それは。
That explains why no one else can approach it.
人類を未来永劫にわたって管理し続ける。ただ座して眺めているだけではない、人の幸福のために干渉してくる人工の神なのです。
Narose was, so to speak, God's creator. As long as Noah 2 remained in existence, humanity would be indestructible. The eternal utopia Narose had desired would become a reality. However,
あんたなら近づけるんでしょ。
yeah. Your one fatal flaw, the very thing that gave you power to Noah 2, is the one thing that can be used to undo it. Yeah, that is why you haven't been killed just yet. The snake that held Narose undulated its body, raising him higher.
それならあんたは鍵だ。
Narose was dumbfounded, but that soon shifted to an expression of anguish. The serpent swung his body with almost no resistance. Takumi took a glance at Rimi. Their eyes met. What did Rimi feel as she looked at him? It would have been a simple matter to read her heart, but Takumi didn't do it. Seems like I've been able to save you, after all. He soon averted his eyes. His gaze moved to the still buzzing Noah 2, a deity's inapproachable throne, a cradle for the display of happy dreams.
ごめん。
He apologized to no one in particular. This device has brought ruin to Shibuya and would have brought ruin to the entire world. Genichi's utopia would have been a damnation for all of humanity.
僕は人類にとっての敵かもね。
I would say that Genichi also fits that category to a T. The endless utopia this device would bring about. A future without war. Takumi was going to nip it in the bud with his own two hands. He couldn't provide the answer as to whether that was right or wrong.
でも神話でもよくあるでしょ。神だって女絡みでうだうだやってる。だから僕も
Sacrificed the happiness of all humanity for the sake of the girl I love. Holding his D-sword, Takumi drew his arms far back, almost in the shape of a bow.
突き破れ!
He thrust it. Like a javelin, the dark serpent rushed ahead in a furious straight line. Along with its prey, Genichi Narose, the D-sword that he wields. As its tip bit into Narose its bait, it went to Noah 2. A massive spear of antiparticles capable of annihilating anything. It had no will of its own, therefore nothing about it could be warped. The greed-ridden destructive impulse, with neurose as its key, faced the barrier made of delusions, and immediately battered it away. Fare thee well, neurose. Non-resistance is all that awaits you. And at last, it has finally come to an end. The new generation madness, the war against Nozomi, the vengeance of the gigalomaniacs, it all ends here. At what point had it started raining? A violent explosion had taken place. The blast from it had sent me flying away as easily as some old rag. Before I knew it, I was here. Those eyes are always watching me. The stare pierces through the thick dark rain clouds. Should be getting a little bit of yummy vu here. Pours down on me like rain. Don't look at me. My body won't stop trembling. But it's more from the cold rubble I'm sitting on than from the chill of the rain. It's terribly cold. An ominous gaze from the heavens pierces me. As if to escape it, I raise my head a tiny bit and survey my surroundings. And we're back to where it all started. Out there is a shattered city. Out there is despair. Out there is death. Out there is nothingness. No one is here. No one is moving. No one is alive. All I can hear is the sound of the continually falling rain. If things continue this way, everything, both alive and dead, I wonder if it'll be gently enveloped and washed away. Would have been nice if all that happened turned out to be just a delusion, but it seems that isn't the case. Not this time. Not this time. My body won't move. I can barely move my neck and my eyes. I can no longer use such monstrous power as I did before. I'm trembling. That's no more than a physiological phenomenon. The action is involuntary. I don't want to shake like this. If I can't move it freely, then it isn't my body. Yeah, there was a price to be paid for using that power. Or maybe I wasn't born free. No one understands where the heart is kept. So despite that, how can anyone say for sure that my heart is inside my body? But in that case, where could I have been before? I wonder if I'm here now. Maybe I'm nowhere. Suddenly, a sound that isn't the rain of death resounds in this broken world, where everything remains at a standstill. The sole existence floating out of the midst of nothingness. Who are you? Oh, this time we know who she is. The reason your skin appears so pale. Is it because you're frozen from the coldness of the rain? Or because you're already dead? But she isn't trembling. Those eyes that are almost hidden by her bangs. Don't look at me. They also seem terribly sad. They also seem infused with madness. They also seem to be reflecting nothing. If she and I are the only ones in the world, if we continue gazing solely at each other like this for the rest of our eternity, would my world be reduced to that which is reflected in her eyes? Would her world be reduced to that which is reflected in mine? I am what's reflected in her eyes. She is what's reflected in mine. When I think about it that way, the world instantly becomes much smaller.
ねえ
A lovely noise that abruptly reaches my ears. She hangs her head. She spreads her hands out on both sides. It's like she is trying to take off and fly away, taking aim above the clouds. Or maybe it's an attempt to catch everything the rain brings with it.
あなたを見つめる妄想
With the way she hangs her head, there's no way I can assess her expression from my position. Beyond the thin film of rain, what kind of face are you making?
殺してあげる
An angel. Are those wildly dancing feathers of light blitzing me, or else? Ah, I see. I understand. She'll use that to do me the favor of killing me. She slowly drops to her knees before my collapsed form. Even now her head hangs down. She softly reaches to embrace my head. Relieved by the fact that she isn't looking at me, I simply surrender my body to her.
殺さなくちゃいけないの
whisper near my ear, a lovely noise.
ごめん。ごめんね。
There's nothing to apologize for. If I don't disappear, the other me, the real me, will die. So I'm fine with this. I'm glad you're going to erase me. It's a happy ending for a monster. I no longer have any regrets. A warm, soft, tender, sweet sensation. It's much like anesthesia. And mysteriously my trembling gradually starts to lessen. The faint breaths tickle my cheek, a very sweet scent. I abruptly feel a pressure on my chest. The great sword she carries is tearing through the skin of my chest, boring into my flesh, threading between my bones, and steadily sinking its way into my body. Yet numbed by the anesthesia of her kiss, I no longer feel any pain. Because you kill me like this, so gently, I unexpectedly become anguished. I'm on the verge of crying. To keep her from noticing, I look past her head, up at the dark grey sky that goes on pouring rain on us. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of ChäoS Head. One of the endings, at least. And, yeah, not quite the end of the Let's Play, just yet. There are still a few other endings that there are left to explore. But for all intents and purposes, the main portion of the Let's Play has finally drawn to a close. And I have to say, while ChäoS Head is stylistically different from Steins Gate in terms of its art style and animation, it is very reminiscent. It's very clear of the influences that each has had on the other. A very quaint, interesting Let's Play that has actually taken me much longer to do than both Steins Gate and Steins Gate Zero. But all in all, I actually rather enjoyed the journey from start to finish. Yeah, it was certainly macabre and dark and gruesome at times, but it was also fun and enjoyable as well. And of course, it goes without saying that the music as well definitely adds a lot to the atmosphere. 5BP, now known as Majors, Nitro Plus, and of course, yeah, that is the end of the credits. As it slowly fades to black. But of course, as I just said, the LP isn't quite done yet. I'll be showcasing the other endings in order to wrap the series up properly and give it the proper send-off it deserves. because the story's not quite over just yet. So when we return, adventurers, I shall see you all back at the crossroads, and I'll be heading through the other door in the next episode. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.